For the vineyards in this region, we have what's called vine mealybug, and that has become pest number one. I would recommend Sutera to other growers, and I would say that Sutera has become the backbone of a program in the fight against the vine mealybug.
Hello, I'm Matthew Malcolm with American Vineyard Magazine, reporting to you from the annual Grape, Nut, and Tree Fruit Expo here at the Big Fresno Fairgrounds. We had a great crowd here today. I'm with Jeff Bitter, president of Allied Grape Growers. Gave a great State of the Wine Grape Industry address, focusing here especially on the Central Valley level. This is the bulk producers, right, of our wines here in California. Can you tell us about how the season went and what we can expect from this year's harvest?
Sure. Well, the season started out okay. We had some frost events up north, primarily in the Lodi-Clarksburg region, and some along the east side of the valley. But between that and that really hot week of Labor Day in September, we had a really excellent growing season. Very mild. The springtime was nice and breezy. Summertime was pretty cool, relatively speaking. So we actually had an excellent growing season. The crop had much more potential to develop beyond what it did. And again, that heat in September really knocked it back. We saw where anything that was picked prior to that heat probably did pretty good, and anything picked after that heat definitely showed the effects of living through that 115, 117 for 7 to 10 days.
Now, would you say that the drought that we're experiencing here had an impact on quality and harvest this year?
Yeah, I would say, it's hard to say whether it has an impact on quality per se, but definitely on quantity. So coming out of some drought years, successive drought years now, you start a season behind, essentially, with regard to your retained soil moisture. And if you're not giving those vines a good drink in the spring at bud break, you're going to immediately see the effect of that, lower than a desired level of moisture in the soil. And so that definitely will retard the crop, keep it from growing to its full potential. And for the third year in a row, we've had a light crop in the state. And I would say even in the valley, it was a better crop than last year for most varieties, but it was still overall on the light side.
And what would you say as far as where we are in the market, with prices and what overall your expectations potentially for the crush overall statewide?
Well, pricing-wise, this year was pretty stable. It didn't change a lot from last year. A lot of the purchases were made early by wineries, particularly in the interior regions, and so there wasn't a lot of grape supply on the market at harvest time. But again, pricing remained pretty stable from last year. Most of the big wineries' cash prices or market prices were about the same as they were in 2021.
Which is decent, right?
Yeah, which is definitely better than it had been in previous years, when we were going through those oversupply years of 2018, 2019. In terms of the overall crop, though, we're probably looking at 3.6, 3.7, somewhere in there. Again, the interior regions actually had a decent crop. Lodi had a good crop for the most part, outside of what was affected by heat. Right. The coastal regions were light. So overall, I think we're going to see another year that's somewhere below average, maybe 10% below average.
Yeah, and we'll probably assume that there's going to be some more vineyards taken out over the winter time too, huh?
I think that's a safe assumption. We're seeing a pattern now where we're planting as an industry. We're planting about what we're taking out each year. So our overall acreage is not decreasing or increasing much. It's pretty balanced. In the Central Valley, we continue to feed a market here, that being the market below $11 a bottle. We continue to feed a market that is declining in terms of volume. And so we're going to continue to see vineyards coming out in response to those market conditions. And that's coupled with challenges with water, drought, particularly on the west side of the valley. We're going to see some larger vineyard acreages removed that, quite honestly, because of the cost of water, it's just simply not sustainable.
Right, so the acreage removed here, especially in the Central Valley, isn't going to be necessarily because of the market conditions. It's going to be because of drought and water availability, some of the environmental circumstances.
Absolutely. It's going to be predicated on the cost of the water. So if you have a market that's not changing in terms of pricing, which is kind of where we're at, pretty stable, but you have increasing costs, the farmer's making less money. And that's kind of where we're at today. It's nice to say the market's stable and prices are good, but in reality, the grower is taking less home today in his pocket than he was a year ago. And that trend is going to continue as we see pricing increase for water and other inputs. So unless the response from the market is to pay more, we're going to see growers being more and more challenged to break even or make money in this type of environment.
Right. Well, we sure hope that things, that this inflation and some of these issues subside. But, we'll see how things go. Thank you for the update. Read more about these things in American Vineyard Magazine. I'm Matthew Malcolm, CaliforniaAgNet.com.